Good morning to one and all. Today our topic is open grid service infrastructure. The previous classes we have seen what is open grid service infrastructure and what the intention for open grid service architecture and functional requirements of OGSA or OGSI. And one more concept we have to learn, the practical and detailed view of open grid service architecture or open grid service infrastructure. Now coming, already we have seen the OGSA services. Also we have 7 broad accessing services. Previous classes we have to learn. This is the last topic, our second unit, that is open grid service infrastructure and the data intensive grid accessing models or services. Okay, now we have seen what is open grid service infrastructure, what it does exactly. In the sense, it gives a formal and technical specification of what a grid service is. What a grid service, it is a formal and a technical specification. We need to say something here. It is a excruciatingly detailed specification of how the grid services work. Okay, and Globus Toolkit 3 is a complete implementation of open grid service infrastructure. The concept described in open grid service architecture, it is a formal and a technical specification, and the Globus Toolkit 3, it is an implementation of open grid service infrastructure, and some other implementations are open grid service infrastructure light Perl 1 and the Unicode open grid service architecture demonstrated 2 from the EU GRIP project. And coming the last important point, open grid service infrastructure specification, what it specifies, in the sense it defines the grid services and it built upon the web services also. And coming to the how we want to create a open grid service infrastructure, it creates an extension model for web services description language called grid web services description language. What the reason is here exactly, in the sense interface inheritance and service data, in the sense if for expressing the state information, what it fact. Okay, and coming to the components of open grid service infrastructure, the first one is in web services. We have seen open grid service infrastructure. The web services are in the sense some tools, life cycle, state management, service groups, and factor, notification and handle map. Coming to the these are the five these are the web services components. Okay, life cycle, what does the life cycle done here? To manage grid service life cycles, it to soft state approach, every instance is created with a specific lifetime. And coming to the initial lifetime, it can be extended by explicit client request. The client can always know when the grid service will terminate, and the resource consumptions at hosting environment is always bounded. It is nothing but life cycle. And coming to the state management, to manage the grid service states, like a state such as stateful or stateless. Okay, and coming to the stateful, what does stateful means? In the sense, the computer or program, it keep tracks of the states of interaction, and usually by setting values in a storage field to designate it for that purpose. Okay, it's nothing but stateful. And coming to the stateless means there is no record of previous interactions, and each interaction request has to be handled based entirely on information that comes with it. And coming to the what that both means, what that both derives, stateful and stateless, are derived from the usage of states as a set of conditions at a moment in time. Okay, it is the meaning of the state management. And coming to the service groups is nothing ma, it is a collection of indexed grid services. And coming to the factory, it provide the way for creation of new grid services. And coming to the notification, to manage notifications between services and resources, uses the third party messaging service. And coming to the last one, handle map, here to return a grid service reference, it associated with grid service handle. Here every grid service instance is always registered with at least one home handle map. And also we want to say grid service handle includes the handle maps identity. And here all handle map services are also identified by a uniform resource location. Here we have to learn the two steps in handle map: identifying a handle map service that contains the mapping for the specified grid service handle, and it contacting that handle map to attain the desired grid service reference. Okay, these are the concepts of open grid service infrastructure. And now we see in data intensive grid service models. This is the last topic ma, listen carefully. Data intensive, it is nothing ma, it is typically referred to as a grid system. What system? Grid. Grid data. Okay, it is typically referred to as a big data. Okay, here the grid service models, we have seen the grid service models, what it does exactly. Here in the grid, the applications are normally grouped into two categories. How many categories? Two categories. First one is computation intensive, and the second one is data intensive. And coming to the data intensive application, it deals with massive amounts of data. Here the grid system must specifically designated to what it discover, what it transfer and manipulate, in the sense but manage and handle and manipulate the massive, in the sense large amount of data sets. Okay, we want to transferring the massive data sets. It is a time consuming task. What task? It is a time consuming a task. So the data access method is also known as we want to say catching. What? Catching, which is oftenly applied to enhance, in the sense to increase the data efficiency and productivity in a grid environment, by replicating in the sense an action of copying or reproducing something, the same data block, and it's scattering them in multiple regions. Okay, in a grid users can access the same data. Okay, by replicating the same data block and scattering them in multiple regions in a grid, users can access the same data. And coming to the replication strategies, in the sense the action of copying the exact copy of something or reproducing something, the strategies to determine when and where to create a copies of the data, the strategies of replications, it can be classified as two methods. The first method is static method and the second method is dynamic method. And coming to the static method, what does the location and the number of replicas are determined in advance, and it will not be modified. So the replication operation requires the little overhead modification. The static strategy cannot adapt to change in demand and bandwidth and storage variability. And here the most important point, optimization is required to determine what does the location and the number of data replicas. This is nothing but static method. And coming to the dynamic method, what the dynamic strategy will do, it can adjust the location and number of data replicas according to what does the change in conditions. To frequently the data moving operations can result in much more the static strategies. Okay, here the key point in optimization, it may be determined based on whether the data replicas is being created, deleted, or moved. So the most common replications include to preserve the locality and minimizing updates. Okay, here we have seen the methods, what methods to handle the data should be efficiently, and productivity in the sense data replication in the sense the high availability and the unified namespace in the sense unique identification. And now we see in general the grid data access models. We have seen the grid data access models. In general, there are four access models for organizing a data grid, as below here listed. First one is monadic method, and second one is hierarchical model, and third one is federation model, and fourth one finally hybrid model. First of all, we have to see now what does the monadic method. The name itself, mono, in the sense single, in the sense centralized data. Okay, it should be a single authority, under a single authority. What does monadic model says? It is nothing ma. Listen carefully. This is the diagram of monadic method. The diagram shows what it does exactly. Now we explain here. This is a centralized data repository model. This what model? Centralized data repository model. Here all data is saved in central data repository. When the users want to access some data, they have no submit request directly to the central repository. That's why the node data is replicated for to store the data locality. In larger grid, this model is not efficient in terms of performance and reliability. So the data replication is permitted in this model only when the fault tolerance is demanded. It is nothing but the monadic method. And coming to the hierarchical model, what the hierarchical in the sense level by level, we have see the model here. Look at this diagram, this content also. Now we explain here. Here the hierarchical model is suitable for building a large data grid. Okay, a large data grid. To build a large data grid, it is appropriate for that one, which has only one large data access directory. Here the data may be transferred from the source to the second level center. Then some data in the regional center is transferred to the third level center after being forwarded several times, and specific data objects are accessed directly by the users. Generally speaking, a high level data center has a wider coverage area. It provides the higher bandwidth for access than a lower level data center. Now we see the public key infrastructure security services are easier to implement in this hierarchical data access model. Is nothing but hierarchical model. And coming to the federation model, what does it exactly do? In the sense it is nothing but we have to say this model is also known as a mesh model. Okay, what model? Mesh model. This data access model is better suited for what we want to designing a data grid with multiple sources of data suppliers. Okay, sometimes this model is also known as mesh model. Here we want to learn the data sources are distributed to multiple locations, to many different locations. Okay, although the data is shared, the data items are still owned and controlled by their original owners. Okay, according to the predefined access policies, only authenticated users are authorized. Okay, only authenticated users are authorized to request data from any data source. Okay, this mesh model, in the sense, or this federation model may cost the most efficient when the number of grid institutions it becomes very large. It is nothing but federation model. And coming to the final one, hybrid model. In the sense, hybrid, in the sense, we want to learn the both hierarchical model as well as mesh model. In the sense, this model may combines the best features of the hierarchical model as well as mesh models. Traditionally, the data transfer technology like file transfer protocol, and it applies for networks with lower bandwidth. The network links in a data grid, it often have fairly high bandwidth, and other data transfer models are exploited by high speed data transfer tools such as grid file transfer protocol. It is developed with the Globus library. What library we want to learn? Globus library. Here, so the cost of the hybrid model, it can be trade off between the true extreme models like hierarchical and as well as mesh connected grids. Okay, this is the concept of hybrid model. We have seen in data intensive grid access models. In general, there are 4 access models for organizing a data grid. First one, monodic method, and second one, hierarchical model, and third one, federation model, and finally we have discussed hybrid model. The name itself says monodic, it is a centralized authority, and a hierarchical level, one level to transfer the data to another level, and another level will transfer to the third level. Okay, coming to the federation model, it is nothing but one more name, mesh model. Okay, and coming to the hybrid model, this model will combines the best features of hierarchical model, and it supports federation model. Thank you. Later we discuss further topics.